On the 22nd of July 2011, Oslo was struck by a very powerful car bomb that went off just next to the Prime Minister's office. 8 people were killed immediately and hundreds were injured. Panic-struck Norwegians tried to figure out why they have been attacked, why they have been added to the long list of cities that have been attacked by Islamic jihadists. They searched and they discovered many reasons. They found that Norway has been contributing troops to the NATO war effort. They found that the Muslim community of Norway had not been properly integrated into the society. They also found that just a week before, a Muslim preacher had been indicted for incitement. And while the country was still trying to make sense of this fog of war, there was another attack, a simultaneous attack, that happened a couple of hours later in a school summer camp where more than 69 people were shot dead, including personal friends of the Prime Minister and some of the members of the royal family. And of course, names started popping up. This was had to be a jihadist attack, a responsibility, some Al-Qaeda, other names started popping up. But ironically, it was none of that. This entire terror attacks were the handiwork of one man whose name was Anders Breivik. And he was a Norwegian, and he hated Muslims, and he was actually protesting against the multiculturalist policies of the Norwegian government. My second story is about this man. He goes by the name of Salim Durrani. He has many names. He operated in the valley for about 10 years. He used to move in and out. The fences and the boundaries were never a problem for him. He has a prize on his head when he was operating in the valley. And he's been known to be personally responsible for the deaths of close to 3 to 4 dozen young men. He's also a devout Muslim, prays 5 times a day. He has his AK-47 next to him like a true warrior. Each time he prays, wherever he sleeps, never sleeps in the same place twice, not for 2 nights in a row. Salim Durrani is my coursemate from the Indian Army. This is a picture of him when he was a major serving in the valley. Between him, his father and his grandfather, 3 generations, they have contributed 8 uniformed services officers into the Indian Armed Forces. And between them, they hold 6 gallantry awards and 2 commendation cards. The young lad that you see sitting on the left is Salim's son, who is now planning to join the Indian Military Academy and continue the family tradition for the 4th generation of service to this country. Now, when I told you these 2 stories, your mind instantly leapt to a conclusion that was wrong. You thought of Salim Durrani when I began as a terrorist, AK-47, Valley, and your mind jumped to a conclusion which was wrong. We do that very often. We take information that is coming to our brains and we stereotype it. And why do we do that? Do we do it because we are parochial people, we are petty people, we are bad people? Turns out we do it because we are just people. And our brains are still evolving over millions of years of evolution. And it's incapable of dealing with all these inputs that comes to us, hundreds of inputs that come to us every second. So our mind filters them out into some sort of patterns and absorbs those patterns and jumps to a judgment. Let me give that to you with a few examples. For instance, until I say this sentence to you, you were unaware of the feeling of your touch of your thighs on your seat, or the touch of your arm on your armrest, or the faint hum of the air conditioner in this auditorium. But the moment I said these sentences, those pieces of information which were out there in your brain jumped into your mind and you could actually sense it. But until then, though the sensations were coming into your brain, they were being filtered out. And that's the way our mind works at times. It just takes 2-3 pieces of data and quickly jumps to a conclusion. Let's show that to you with another simple example. Try and solve this math puzzle. Suppose there is a racket and a ball which together cost 110 rupees. A racket and a ball together cost 110 rupees. The racket costs 100 rupees more than the ball. The racket's cost is 100 rupees more than the ball. What is the price of the ball? Now, all of us who got it as 10 just witnessed a way in which our brain takes information and jumps to the wrong conclusion. The answer is 5. The price of the ball is 5. The price of the racket is 105. That is why the racket is 100 rupees more than the ball. But you heard 110, 100, and you jumped to a wrong conclusion that the price of the ball was probably 10. Now, the second feature of our way of stereotypical thinking is we will usually think of the worst case scenario. That is why Salim Durrani is a terrorist and not amongst the thousands of Muslim officers and soldiers who serve in the Indian Armed Forces. And why do we do that? Why do we always gravitate towards the worst case scenario? Now the answer for that is also a human evolution of the brain. Now suppose we went back into history as we were evolving and there were these two tribes. There was tribe 1 and tribe 2, and tribe 1 consisted of brave, fearless warriors, and they would see a mammoth and they'd say, I would take on this mammoth by myself. They'd come to a chasm and they say, I'd run and jump across the chasm and flap my wings and get across. They would see a bright red fruit and say, I'd bite into it, forget the consequences. And tribe 2 said, when they saw a mammoth, I can't take on this mammoth by myself, I need to go and get some more people. Or they came to a chasm, they decided to walk all the way down, come up the other way, build a bridge or whatever. And they saw this bright fruit, but say, you know what, I'll stick to my boring bananas. Whose descendants do you think we are? Tribe 1 or tribe 2? Tribe 2. Tribe 1 didn't have descendants, they died. So two elements, we jump to judgments, though judgments are usually worst case scenarios. And the third problem is, with this wrong judgment, worst case scenarios, we also change physiologically. Our mind changes, the way we behave biologically changes. And let me show that to you with another example. How many of you seen the movie Black? It was a sad movie. How many of you cried during the movie? Why did you cry? Amitabh Bachchan is making tons of money. Rani Mukherjee is not blind. This is all happening in a screen. None of it is true. But we still cried because our reptilian brain didn't realize the difference between fact and fiction and started physiologically feeling sad, physiologically taking decisions in an emotional state of mind. Now, for those of you who didn't see the movie Black or were too macho not to cry during the movie, I want you to visualize one more example. I want you to visualize that I'm asking you to open your mouth. Don't open your mouth. Just visualize that I'm asking you to open your mouth and stick out your tongue. Now your tongue is stuck out, your mouth is open, I've got a lemon in my hand and I'm squeezing that lemon at the tip of your tongues and that juice is going down your... Why are you salivating? There is no lemon in my hand. There is nothing in my hand. But again, your reptilian brain doesn't know that. When you hear these words, lemon, lime going, you can't stop salivating now. Because physiologically, our body changes the way we perform, we behave, we take decisions based on wrong information. Now, salivating on an imaginary lemon may be harmless fun, but stereotypes can be very, very dangerous. People get lynched by mobs because they believe that they've eaten the wrong kind of meat. Communal riots break out based on false WhatsApp messages, photoshopped images. Countries go to war because they believe that another country has got weapons of mass destruction. Countries leave alliances that they've been part of for decades because they believe that immigrants are coming and stealing their jobs, which is incorrect information. We start looking at every stranger with suspicion, and we think that anything that is different from us has to be dangerous. We start believing that anyone who is not with us is by definition against us. One of the founding principles of our country is the core value of tolerance. And tolerance, like wisdom, is the ability to hold two contrarian ideas within the same mind and evaluate each one on merit before coming to a conclusive judgment. Before this talk, I was researching on the working of the brain, on stereotyping, and I found many books. And matter of fact, some of the anecdotes I told you were from those books. But I was hard-pressed to find a book that would tell me, how do we deal with this problem? What is the framework that will help us recognize this threat of parochialism and divisiveness? Because if we start believing that anyone who is not with us is against us, then we will start creating a society in a world where everything is connected to each other, which is extremely divisive. And finally, I found a book from which I want to read out a passage for you. The fundamental duties of the citizens of India, Article 51A. It shall be the duty of every citizen to promote harmony and spirit of brotherhood amongst all people of India, transcending religion, linguistic, regional, or sectional diversities. Now, this book, as many of you may have guessed, is the Constitution of India. It's that book which is holier than every holy book. It's that book on every soldier, every politician, every bureaucrat, every citizen of India swears his allegiance. We've been taught to stand up in attention whenever the national flag is unfurled. We teach that to our kids. We've been taught to stand up and be in attention whenever the national anthem is played, and we teach that to our kids. I think it's also time for us to sit down and start studying the fundamentals which are being represented by that flag and by national anthem. Because as the saying goes, when you are struggling to look for a new idea, sometimes it's a good idea to read an old book. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Jai Hind.